He is host of the Believe in the Chiefs on the Believe Podcast Network. Former offensive lineman with the Chiefs. Makes sense. We've got Joe Valerio with us today. And Joe, first off, thank you so much for taking the time, brother.
Oh my gosh, Cameron, great to join you in Super Bowl week. And it's been an amazing playoff run, I think, for NFL fans. Of course, there's always going to be a sad group of fans that, you know, their team isn't journeying on in this crazy playoff race. But I'll tell you, it's been fantastic. As an objective football fan of anybody who loves the NFL, I don't even know if you need to be an NFL fan to have enjoyed these last 6 games. The drama, you know, every game's been a walk-off basically. So, you know, how could you not be excited about, you know, what's coming now with the culmination of the season and the Super Bowl? So, you know, I think the 2 teams that are there are very deserving, and it's going to be an interesting game. It's two very different types of football teams. So, been exciting. Been a great year.
Now, Cincinnati got some youth at the quarterback position, and if you were to talk to the Bengals, what would your advice be leading up to Super Bowl Sunday?
Well, I mean, I knew what they needed to do against the Chiefs. I felt like, well, number one, what they did is they hung in there, right? I mean, they've got to hang in there, just like they did against Kansas City. Things might not go well for Cincinnati in the first part of the season, first part of the game, you know, and it didn't go well for them against the Chiefs. But I think the game that Joe Burrow played against the Chiefs, bringing that Bengals team on that journey, I feel like it was a microcosm of his life story as a football player, right? Getting rejected, getting, you know, booed, you know, leaving that school, going to another school, you know, getting hurt, dealing with his injury, and wins the Heisman, wins a national championship. You know, like that game was like all of that rolled into one. Injuries happening for the Bengals. They're not playing well. They're losing. It didn't look good, Cameron, for the Bengals. You got to be honest. I mean, of course, I'm a Chiefs homer, right? Because I cover the Chiefs. I play for the Chiefs. But, like, I was feeling really good about what the Chiefs were doing in that first half. And what did the Bengals do? Hung around. They hung around the rim. You know, that old basketball phrase. Right. They just hung around the rim. And, you know, good things happen. You get rebounds, you get dunks, and they just hung in there. And I think that's what they're going to have to. It was a long answer to a short question, but I think that's what they're going to have to do against this team, because if they give up hope to this Rams team is a smothering team, and they're going to smother the Bengals on defense. And quite frankly, I think the Rams offense is a smothering offense. And I think they're going to eat up clock. You know, they're going to game manage down the field. They're going to try to keep Burrow off the field. And, you know, Joe Burrow just can't lose heart, right? He's got to keep plugging away. He's got to keep going, because if he loses heart, you know, the Chiefs, you know, he loses heart in that Chiefs game, the Chiefs go on and win 45-7. Right. You know, but he didn't. And I think that permeates a team. You know, that sends a message. When you don't give up like that, that sent a message to every single Bengal last week, you know, when they lost when they beat the Chiefs, is that, you know what, you don't give up. When it looks bad, you just keep playing. And, you know, I just think that's what they're going to have to do, because, Cameron, I got to be honest, they're going to run into a little bit of a buzzsaw. Right. You know, this Rams team is this, they were built for this game. You know, this is what that organization did over the course of, and they put that final piece in place with Stafford. And, you know, I think they've got all the pieces to, on paper, again, we don't play games on paper, right? And if we did, you know, be a lot healthy. My knees would feel a lot better these days. But, you know, it just on paper that they're going to, you know, there's a reason why they're almost a touchdown favorite, which I think that line's a little light. If, you know, I think the Rams, if they start running away with it, it could get worse.
Now, did you immediately buy in once they got Stafford? Did you immediately buy in that, yeah, they were Super Bowl favorites for the Rams at the beginning of the year?
Yeah, I think I was, because I just felt like they were piecing this thing together. And, you know, you had to be like watching it closely, right? Like each time they would put in a new piece, you're like, that was a good move. It's like, if you've ever been in a fantasy football draft, right? And you're watching the draft go by and you're like, that was a good pick. That was a good pick. Why didn't I think of that? And then all of a sudden the Rams are who they are. and then Stafford, and I got to give Stafford a lot of credit too. Here's a guy who played 13 years, right, in Detroit. No offense to that organization, but they have been bad. And they got even worse when he left. So it kind of shows you what he was doing, propping up that organization with his play. And I'll tell you, I got to be honest, Cameron. I don't know this for a fact, so I am making some conjecture here, but I have to imagine in those 13 years, Matt Stafford had a chance to leave. Now, granted, they paid him well, and he made great money and he made a great living, and his kids don't have to work probably. But he had a chance. He had a chance, and he never did. He hung in there. Just like Joe Burrow, who's a hang in there kind of a guy. I think Matt Stafford's a hang in there kind of guy, and so I like him for that fact. Whether you like his play style or if you like him as a person, all that stuff aside, he hung in there. And I think he's getting his just desserts now, being in the Super Bowl, representing the NFC Championship Rams as the quarterback. And I give him a lot of credit for that. So that's why I think it's going to be a really interesting Super Bowl with these two quarterbacks. This isn't some of the last gunslinging games that we saw, right? Especially in the AFC, it's a gunsling. It was like the old Wild West, right? Burrow, Josh Allen, Derek Carr. Patrick Mahomes, of course, right? How could I forget Patrick? And you've got, all these gunslinging QBs whipping the ball around. Now you kind of have, this is a little bit of the old wily vet versus the young gun. So I'm going to be anxious to see how this, how this all plays out and how they react to each other in the way that they're each playing.
And you mentioned him. So being covering the Chiefs as well, what have you seen on the one-on-one side of Patrick since he's come into the league to where he is today?
Oh, he's such a talent. I mean, he's got such skills. The one way that I describe Patrick in my own terms is forget the cannon arm, the happy feet, his ability, from having played basketball and baseball and done all those things to generate real well-rounded athleticism. The one thing I think Patrick has that really super ultra high performing athletes have is he's able to see everything in slow motion. Granted, sometimes when he struggles, it's not because of that. He struggles because I think he puts too much pressure on himself and he forces things. But his pure play and the way that he plays the game of football, I saw this. It's gonna be a bizarre analogy. You're like, what is this guy talking about? But I saw this show on it was Nat Geo or something, like National Geographic, and it was about insects and how insects, their metabolisms are so high that everything in the world around them is happening in slow motion. It's kind of like why it's really hard to kill a fly, right? When it's on your picnic table, because they see things their metabolisms are so quick that when you try to swat them, that they see it coming from a mile away. That's kind of how I describe Patrick Mahomes. He just, everything around him is happening in slow motion. And he's able to see things that we might not see as sort of normal human beings, when a wide receiver is breaking away just at the right time, or when he sees the pocket collapsing around him and how he's able to step up and find the pocket inside the pocket. He just has an uncanny ability to slow everything down. I mean, a perfect physical example of it, Cameron, was on the trainer, Rich Burkholdt, was I guess they were talking about how they have the body, biometric stuff on that they're wearing now, right? Heart rate. I think some teams have sensors in their helmets to measure impact and things like that. Well, apparently, the story goes, and what they've been reporting is that his heart rate from the biometric screening was higher on the sideline when he was watching Josh Allen go down the field and score that last touchdown before Patrick got the 13 seconds than it was when he was actually in the huddle ready to call the first play of that series. His heart rate was higher on the sideline than it was in the huddle. Now, granted, when you start running, your heart rate's going to go up, so you can't use that. But that to me just kind of says it all, that the physical manifestation of his athletic ability was that he could slow everything down, calmly call that play. He knew he only had the two plays, right? And he made it happen. So that's my best way to describe Patrick. I got on a soapbox there, but I think that's what makes him kind of special. Now, is he human? Of course, we saw that. we saw what happened in the second half of that game. And, I feel really bad that, that the Chiefs didn't override him and kick that field goal at the end of the half. Cause I think, players are funny. And the psychology of being out there on the field in a high pressure situation like that, even for a guy like Patrick Mahomes, I think not being able to punch that in the end zone and not coming away with some points at the end of that half really set him on a weird path for the remainder of that game. And whether it took away his swagger or his confidence or something, it definitely did something. And so you have to be careful when you're a coach that you don't let your players get in those situations, right? I think Andy possibly, and here I am, I'm no head coach of an NFL team, but I'll throw my opinion out there. I think he should have put his foot down and said, Patrick, we're kicking the field goal. We come away with the 3 points, go get some Gatorade, come out second half, guns ablazing, and we'll be fine. I think that was probably the biggest mistake that they made in that game.
Now, how hard is it to deal with a talent like Patrick? I mean, you were around with Joe Montana as well. I mean, how do you see the coaching challenge working with someone that gifted?
Oh, well, I think the biggest challenge comes from not bridling them too much, right? Not let them go, let them do their thing. And that's hard. That's hard for some coaches. Coaches have sometimes just as big of egos as the players do. And, you've got to let them have their the opportunity. You have to empower them to be who they are. I do these things on Mondays on LinkedIn, and I do it on Twitter, and I have a YouTube channel called Lessons from the Gridiron, and I talk about, and it's funny you should bring that up because my lesson from the Gridiron today was leadership by example. And I think, and I said in my little message that great players, the reason they become great players because they're great leaders and they lead by example. It's not vice versa. Great leaders aren't just out there made up of, great leaders aren't made by just being a great player. And so I think what happens is with those kind of talents that you have, you understand that they got there for a reason. So, Joe Montana, he was the guy that was first one in the locker room in the morning. He was the last one to leave. And I know for a fact that Patrick is the same way. He puts the work in. So it's almost as if they make it easier for you because when you get that good at something, you got there for a reason, and you got there because you put the work in. Because it goes even beyond natural talent for a guy like Patrick Mahomes or a guy like Joe Montana. And I think that rubs off on everybody else around them in the locker room. So I think in some ways it's really hard for coaches because they don't want to tamper down the wild talent that's there. But at the same time, they do have to understand that players like that got there for a reason, and that they've got to just kind of let them go, let them do their thing. Now, granted, if it's becoming conduct detrimental to the team, you can't, because what's the other saying is, the worst thing a good manager can do is coddle a bad employee, right? Because that's you got to put your foot down and say, no, this is the culture of the team, and this is how we're going to play football. And Patrick embodies that. So it's a give and take between a coach and a great player like that.
Now, with Joe making it into the Super Bowl with the Bengals this year, how do they avoid ridiculous expectations of Joe in the years after this as well?
Well, that's a great question, Cameron. It's a fantastic, commentary. It is hard. It's hard to now because we see it in Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes. Like the fans expect the Chiefs now to be in the Super Bowl every year. It's hard. There's 31 other teams out there that are watching the film on you as a quarterback like Joe Burrow. And they don't just sit around wringing their hands and saying, oh, woe is me. The Bengals are great or the Chiefs are great. The Bills have Josh Allen. Let's just those defensive coordinators are thinking and dreaming, spending nights and days and weekends dreaming up plans of how to stop a player like that. So the fans can't let their expectations get too high because it's not as if the other teams aren't going to show up anymore because, Joe Burrow made the Super Bowl in the second year. Oh, well, we're done. Let's just pack it in. We'll go up in Canada and play in the CFL or something like, so I think what needs to happen is fans need to say, look, we're going to be this Bengals team is going to be a good team for a long time. So take a deep breath no matter what happens and, enjoy the ride, because you've got a quarterback who knows how to win. He's won at every level, right? He won a national championship. He won the Heisman. He's now in the Super Bowl, which is the pinnacle of the NFL. So just enjoy it. Enjoy the ride, because it's, there's only one team that walks away with that Lombardi trophy, and there's only two that get to play for it every year out of 32 teams. And when you look back historically, sometimes teams go decades without getting even close. And it's not because they're not trying. So anyway, I guess my one piece of advice is enjoy the moment. Stop thinking about, it's like that Progressive commercial with Dr. Rick, right? Why are we talking about leaving the game? The game hasn't even started yet. You're thinking about leaving in the third quarter. That's what fans can't do. Just enjoy the heck out of this week, the hype, enjoy the game, enjoy what the Bengals might do this offseason to surround Joe Burrow, win, lose, or draw. Well, there won't be a draw. They don't let them tie in the Super Bowl. But, win or lose, I would, if I'm a Bengals fan, enjoy the heck out of what they're going to do to try to build around him, because that's when it gets fun. Because that's the progression I've seen with the Chiefs. Now, obviously, they've been to the 4 AFC championships and the 2 Super Bowls, and they won one of them. But I'll tell you what they've done every year is they've always found that one or two pieces they've tried to put together for Patrick Mahomes, right? This year it was the offensive line, which was beautiful. It was masterfully constructed. And I was talking with some Bears fans today. They're really excited about, Ryan Poles heading up to Chicago to go up there and some of the things he's done to help build, the Kansas City Chiefs through his long tenured career. He's been there since like 2008 or 2009. Started in as assistant scout or something. Really, down there on in the pecking order. And now he's general manager of one of the most storied franchises in NFL football. With the Bears. So I love it. I think it's great for Bears fans. So those are the kinds of things that the Chiefs have done. And one year it was let's shore up the receivers. What they've done with Travis Kelce, backing him up with Blake Bell and getting some getting some tight ends in there that can fill his shoes as big as they are. I think they did a nice job of shoring up the linebacking core with some young players like Willie Gay and Nick Bolton. So the Chiefs have done a masterful job of surrounding Patrick Mahomes with a lot of talent. And that's, if I'm a Bengals fan, I'd be excited about. What are they going to do to make Joe Burrow better and keep him out on the field more by having a good line and having a good defense? And, that's what I think is going to be really exciting for them, win or lose.
Well, to pick up the win, Joe, give me what the Bengals have to do and what the Rams have to do, in your opinion.
I think, well, number one, Captain Obvious statement, the Bengals are going to have to protect Joe Burrow. They can't let happen what happened against the Titans, because I don't think they're going to be able to overcome something like that the way they did against the Titans. I felt like the Titans were, and this is going to sound like this isn't meant to be a derogatory term to the Titans organization, but I felt like they were a little bit of a paper tiger this year. There was something that when I watched them play, as many wins as they got, there was something hollow or missing about their wins. I couldn't figure it out, and I couldn't put my finger on it. And my buddy Jeff Fedotin and I did talk about it on our podcast, because we were kind of going through some playoff scenarios and what was going to happen. I wasn't really fearing the Titans, and I'm on record as saying that. Like, if you go back and look, I wasn't. Again, I think it's a fantastic organization, because if there's an organization that mirrors their head coach in toughness, it's the Titans, because Mike Vrabel he's the bomb. I think the world of him. But I just think I think if they don't protect Burrow, they're not going to be able to beat the Titans the way that they did. Or beat the Rams the way that they beat the Titans. It's just not going to happen. The Rams are too good for that. So that's my first Captain Obvious statement. is what they're going to have to do on offense. Is let Joe Burrow do his thing. Give him the time he needs to extend the running game with some short passes. They're going to have to, give him some time so he can get the intermediate to deeper routes working, and then to complement that, Cameron, they're going to have to see if Joe Mixon can run against this vaunted defense of theirs. They've got to try to establish something in the run game, because if they feel like they don't have to bring 8 up into the box, then they're going to sit back and with 7 guys back there and rush 4, maybe occasionally rush 3, as good as Aaron Donald is. And then the Bengals are going to be in a world of hurt, because they're just going to blanket everybody. And I think they've got to establish some running game to open up the playbook for Joe Burrow and protect him. And I think that's really the key. It's not really, I don't think, rocket science on that side of the ball for the Bengals. That's what they have to do to make their mark on the Rams. The Rams, they can't turn the ball over. They can't. Not that they're a team that is beholden to has a lot of turnovers, or that they're a turnover prone team. But in this particular game, they can't turn the ball over, because you don't want to give Joe Burrow any momentum. Turnovers to me are I know penalties can be big momentum swings. The interference call at the wrong time, the holding call at the wrong time, like those are real game changers. But like, to me, the real momentum swings are turnovers, the pick at the wrong time, the fumbled, quarterback sack where the defensive lineman strips the QB and they pick up the ball, and maybe they do a little scoop and dash or something. But like, they can't do that, because this team thrives on that. They're going to thrive on momentum. That's the Cinderella story of this Bengals team, is they're going to need something like that to really make a play, right? But hey, just like my dad was a professional boxer, and he used to say, well, this could be a puncher's fight. And I'd be like, Dad, what does that mean? He goes, listen, I don't care if you got the champ of the world who's never lost a fight. If he's fighting a puncher, all it takes is one. and my dad used to say that always, like one of the lessons he taught me about, be careful of that one punch, son. You might be winning by 100, but that one punch could knock you out and you lose. Now you lose, and so I think the Bengals team they're punchers, and you saw that, right? You saw that with the Chiefs. They hung in there, and they were is the rope a dope. It was old Muhammad Ali, rope a dope, and the rope a dope, and then all of a sudden, bam, they came out of nowhere. And so to me, Cameron, long answer again, I think it's turnovers that could be the doom for the Rams if they let the Bengals hang around.
And Joe, like we mentioned before, the host of the Believe in the Chiefs on the Believe Podcast Network. Also, Joe, want to give you an opportunity to let folks know where they can keep up social media. Also, your Monday motivation, where they can keep up with everything you got going, brother.
Oh, Cameron, I appreciate that. Yeah, so I have my Twitter handle is at Joe Valerio 73. Have this YouTube channel we just started called Joe Valerio Lessons from the Gridiron. And, if you just did a quick Google search there, I connect it through Twitter. I tweet out some of my videos. I do them on LinkedIn. It's just like a Monday little motivation. I do lessons I learned, along the way, share some things, playing with guys like Joe Montana and Marcus Allen, and, leadership lessons, and what it's like to be a part of a team and celebrating your role and things like that. That I've been in the corporate environment now for 25 years. So, I wake up on Monday mornings a little less sore than I used to, which is kind of nice, but still get beat around a little bit in the corporate world. So I've learned some lessons there too. But it's been a lot of fun doing that and sharing that stuff. And I love talking football. And we have our Believe in Chiefs podcast with my buddy Jeff Fedotin, and just it's fun stuff just to interact with fans and hear all the things that are going on. And great to be here with you, Cameron. Thank you so much for having me on. This has been a blast.
Well, Joe, it's been a privilege. Like I mentioned before we came on, I was not a Chiefs fan. I had an appreciation for the Chiefs as a Broncos fan in my days. So it's been a privilege to visit with you, especially Super Bowl week. I appreciate you taking the time out. And Joe, hopefully we can catch up again real soon.
I would love that, Cameron. You got my contact info. Let's do it again.